everybody. It's been a while. I haven't posted any videos lately. BBR tonight. Where we at? First I want to touch on the Wicked Weed buyout. If you haven't heard about that, you're probably not a craft beer drinker. AB InBev bought Wicked Weed Brewing out of Asheville for a ton of money, and everybody freaked out. I don't really care that much. Good for the Wicked Weed folks. I mean, from what I understand, they already had money, but it's really none of my business or anybody else's. They built a business, they sold it. I probably won't buy any more of their beer because it is AB InBev, but hey, good for them for making a bunch of money. We have mutual friends, the brothers that own it, and a mutual friend of mine. And from what I understand, they're good dudes. So that's the end of the Wicked Weed thing. It's like it's none of my business if they sell their private business or not. I don't get why everyone thinks it's, that their opinion is so important for these guys' personal decisions or business decisions for the private company. Anyways, homebrew. I'm out of Huntress IPA. I got a tweak batch getting ready to do. Got a couple more ingredients to get. Went ahead and got a pound of Amarillo and a pound of Centennial. So that'll get me through 4 batches from as far as the hops go of Huntress. The peach beer, the peach cobbler beer, it's I've drank half of them. Half of them are set back to age. Well, it's good. It's really good. It tastes nothing like peach cobbler. That was kind of a long shot, and I knew that. Train, nice. What else? Big brew day a couple weeks ago. Local club bought some kits for us to brew behind the local beer store, Sigler's Craft Beer and Cigars, my buddy's shop. And there's a porter, some rye chocolate stout. I did a Polish ale, which is a Kolsch with Polish hops. The train pass. One more. Maybe not. Yeah, there was an IPA. May have already said that. I screwed my beer up bad. I was collecting all my water. I decided to do a full volume boil, even though it was an extract kit, just because there were people coming around and wanted to see brewing for the first time. And I thought, well, the full volume is going to look a lot cooler. And I don't know in my, half barrel keggle that I could easily do a partial boil. Make the boil off rate would just be too much on that small amount of liquid. Anyways, I collected my water. I looked, I was like, I shorted myself 1 gallon. And I went and got my gallon of water, poured it in, and got talking to someone, got distracted, and said, I've got to get that water. So I added a 2nd gallon and didn't realize it until I was well into the boil. And I decided not to just extend the boil to boil off the extra water, because we had some rain setting in. We were brewing outside. So I just chilled my wort when it was done, took my gravity readings. Supposed to be 1054, I got 1034. I'm looking at about a 3.7 to 4% beer. It's supposed to be 5.4. But it's okay, we'll see what happens. I can look at a calendar. I need to take a taste test of the beer here in a couple days and just see if it's gonna be worth bottling. If it's lacks flavor, I'm gonna drop an ounce of Idaho 7 hop hash in it. But I don't know if I'm gonna do that yet. I gotta do the taste test first. Beer, I got to thinking maybe I'll just boil up some water, make a syrup out of it with some DME to boost my gravity up where it was supposed to be. So instead of pitching yeast immediately, I put it in the walk-in cooler there at the store. It's 37 degrees. And thought about it for a couple days and decided, no, I'm just gonna let the beer roll as is. Hot weather's on the way. Nice 3.74% Kolsch. It might be great. So went and picked up the beer, let it warm up a little bit in a swamp cooler, and pitched the S23. And that's kind of a higher temp lager, dry lager yeast, if you're not familiar with yeast. And my first time ever using it. And the guys in the club that have used it told me that it actually does really well in the mid to upper 60s. Said it gives really weird fruity flavors at true lager temps. So what I did is I pitched the yeast on the lower end, that way maybe hoping it would kick on, or it would start its thing on the ramp up and might get a few of those fruity flavors until it hit the 60s and just started fermenting all out. Well, I got the water up to 65 and I was getting no airlock activity. So I didn't want to crack the seal on that thing, being such a light beer. Its off flavors be very noticeable. So I just pulled my airlock out, shined a flashlight down in there, and no signs of fermentation, no bubbles, no krausen starting to form, nothing. So I cranked it to 72 degrees. Now this is a swamp cooler, like an aquarium heater. So those aren't true readings. That's just what I put the aquarium heater at. And let it sit there for overnight. The next morning I got up, and with a 72 degree aquarium heater, reading the water on the outside with my thermometer was 68. Hey, 68 is a perfect fermenting temperature for ale yeast. But I was like, well, that's a lager yeast, but we'll see what happens. And so I checked it again the next morning. I liked it being surrounded by the 68 degree water. So same thing, popped the airlock out, gave it a look through the flashlight, and there was already a small krausen starting to form. So I just left it alone for a couple days. So, well, the yeast is good and active now. I'm gonna back this thing back off. Just over the period of 2 days, I slowly adjusted that little aquarium heater down until my surrounding water was at 63. And the airlock activity stopped, pulled it out, gave it a look. This didn't look like it was doing much anymore. Just a few like big chunks that looked like gigantic yeast straps floating around. So I said, screw it. Brought the water back up to 68 and let it finish out. It's still doing just a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is look at the calendar, pick a bottle one day, and probably not this coming weekend, but the next, and 5 days before bottle one day, drop the hop hash in and see what happens. That's if the taste test doesn't pass. So I got a feeling I want to dry hop it. I kind of want to use this hop hash anyways. But yeah, that's about it for now. Hoping maybe not that I won't be able to brew this weekend, but either a blonde ale or the second edition of the Hunter's IPA will be next. And I'm hoping that's, well, not this coming weekend, but the next. So we'll see. Oh, the peach beer. I'm probably going to do 2 tasting videos on that. One in the next week or two, and kind of describe where that beer's at, what's going on with it. And then one in the fall when I break into the other half of the batch. I can tell you now, it's super tasty. It's slightly roasty. It's very stout-like. It's roasty. It's raisiny. It's got hints of vanilla. There's maybe some nutmeg character in there, and it tastes like a big stout. It finished at 8.6%, and but it tastes like a really big stout with some sweet peach wine. So it's nice, and for 8.6%, it's slammable. It's kind of dangerous, especially to be. It's got a heavy body. It shouldn't be as easy to drink as it is, but I'm satisfied with the way it turned out. And I think a lot of the success had to do with pitching 2 packs of Nottingham. So anytime I use dry heat yeast on a beer above 6% now on, I'm going 2 packs, and of course, won't be much more dry yeast around here. Yeast starters are right around the corner. I burned up my stir plate I built already by putting an underpowered power supply on it, but that's for another video. We'll see you guys later. Cheers.